6:15 here on June 26, 2025, call the regular meeting of the Library Board of Trustees for Hamilton East Public Library to order. Our first order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any members have changes to make to the agenda? Hearing none, motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the agenda? Aye.
Aye.
I hear no no's. That carries. Comments from the public? Getting a shake from the back. Thank you. We have none. Consent agenda. Any items to remove from that consent agenda? We're presuming you would have said something before that, so we will take that by consent, yes?
Yes.
I'm seeing a whole lot of yeses around me. All right, consent agenda is adopted, including that Cersei annual renewal. I would say I was excited to see that we might bid that out and see what might be cheaper out there in the future. Next is item 6, third branch timeline presentation.
It's easier if I do it from here with computers. Oh. You want the microphone? I just need to do that. Okay, so we decided we wanted, where we are in the process, we thought we would just take a pause and just go back to look at everything we've done and why we did it and where we are, and then the next steps of looking at the potential third branch. So some of you were on the board, so you might remember that library staff and members of the board worked on completing the long-range plan for the library, and that was from 2023 to 2024. And then in December of 2024, the board voted to approve the strategic priorities identified during that process. And one of the strategic priorities was to conduct a feasibility study informing a possible third HEPL location by end of 2024. The completion of this feasibility study will further inform the need and possibilities for the creation of a third HEPL branch. So in addition to the Fishers branch in the Noblesville library location, the library owns 10 acres on Oleo Road, and that's near Brewa. So it made sense to investigate that property as a potential third site during the feasibility study process. So in February and March of 2024, members of the Long Range Planning Committee interviewed 3 owners representatives firms to assist the library with the feasibility study. In April, we had 2 finalists present to the full board. And at May 2024, at that meeting, the board voted to select Veritas Advisors as the owner's representative and to help us conduct the feasibility study. And then from June until August of 2024, Veritas conducted a demographic analysis of the library service territory. So their analysis looked at the current and projected growth for the library territory, where the growth will be, and how close residents are to the library. In September of 2024, Veritas launched a survey to gather community feedback about a potential third branch and what they would like to see there, and to gather opinions about the Oleo Road site. And we had an astronomical response with almost 5,000 responses. And 65% of the respondents said that they would be more likely to visit the library if there were a branch located near Hamilton Town Center. So this site is ideally located between the other 2 locations. It is in Noblesville, but the students in that area attend HSE, so it's a nice blend of the 2 communities that we serve. And representatives from the Veritas group presented at the October 2024 board meeting, indicating a focus that we focus in on that particular property as we explore a third branch. In January 2025, Veritas conducted focus groups to get more feedback about what the community would want to see if a third branch is built. In January, library administration met with attorneys from Ice Miller, and that's the firm that the library has historically used as bond counsel. Library's financial advisor, Mike Reuter, HEPL attorney, Ann Poindexter, and then municipal bond advisors from Baker Tilly to get a sense of a preliminary timeline and budget. And if this project moves forward, we are committed to being tax rate neutral. So we wanted to make sure we had all the facts for timelines and budgeting as to help guide us through this process. In February, the same group met with the Buildings and Grounds Committee to review the information, and information was presented at the February board meeting, in which time the board voted to retain Baker Tilly as municipal bond advisors. In March of 2025, Veritas presented a recap of their previous work and then more detailed information about what was learned during the focus groups. They shared recommendations about what the community would want to see in a third branch, and that would help us guide conceptual designs. So, armed with that knowledge, having a comprehensive understanding of the site, community priorities, project timelines, and budget parameters, our next step is to clarify the vision for what a new branch could be. So to support this effort, we issued an RFPQ for architectural services to help us develop conceptual designs. So the conceptual designs are essential to help translating our abstract goals that we have into tangible visuals like site plans, layouts, and imagery that ensure alignment among all of the key stakeholders, so that when we go out to meet with members of the board or members of the community, that we can explain what we're thinking about. And it will serve as a shared reference point for the library board, community members, and our county officials. And that will help hopefully everyone make an informed decision when time comes to vote on the project. And at the May 2025 board meeting, Matt Mason provided an update on the project's progress and shared our intent to shortlist architectural firms with the goal of inviting 3 finalists for interviews with the Buildings and Grounds Committee. And those interviews took place June 4th, and we anticipate the committee will present a recommendation to the board this evening as part of their update. And so moving forward, if the board votes to approve the recommended architect, they'll begin working on developing floor plans and conceptual renderings, which we anticipate being done by October of 2025. And the board can expect regular updates during this time. And then once the conceptual designs are complete, they'll be shared with the board, the community, and then other stakeholders. And this is a high-level overview of the work that we have completed to date, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Good job.
Okay. Leave it up here.
Let her off easy. All right. Without any other comment then, Buildings and Grounds Committee update.
Yes, so as Melissa mentioned, the Buildings and Grounds Committee met in early June, and we interviewed engineering firms that submitted RFPs for the design portion of the project. I think we got 6 total proposals in. Matt helped us narrow it down. We interviewed three good candidates. After listening to all the presentations, then discussing amongst ourselves, there was a strong consensus that KRM was the best option for the work. They've got strong expertise in the library or library design business. They're in Indiana. They're, as you all know, working on our small projects. We've got a good working relationship with them so far. I think we're all impressed with their presentation, that their process and design philosophy is very client-centered and client-driven and getting us what we want. So on behalf of the board, the committee would like to recommend that we select KRM's proposal. And then one other small matter is we've all heard about the tree issue. We've had some issues with the rigidity of the tree, and we just wanted to update the board. That's still something that the committee's looking at and looking at options for repairing that, and getting it in a acceptable condition. And like I say, I think I had Melissa or board members on the buildings and grounds.
Now, the presentations of the three were good, solid. Our discussions afterwards, I think we could have been okay with the other two, but ultimately, yeah, I definitely share that consensus was there that Aaron was going to be our best bet. So, would you like a more formal motion on that?
No, the committee's recommendation is a motion.
Very well.
Do you need a second?
Second.
Second. Michelle, any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Make it happen. Start that process. All right, next order of business, getting back to the agenda. It is small projects update. Which oddly enough is Karen.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you, and we're super excited to continue to help on the other projects. So,
Can I let you drive?
yeah.
Dance as you like. There we go.
And my name's Kevin Montgomery, architect and partner with KRM Architecture.
I'm Katie Grayaski, architect and associate partner at Kenner.
So I think this will take about 5 minutes and then Q&A if you guys would like. So for the past 3.5 months, we've been working with library leadership, a couple meetings with Buildings and Grounds and Veritas Group to hone and refine the feasibility and scope of the small projects. So really it was, what are the needs, what are the options, and what are the costs, and then what are the priorities based on that information. So much of this came from leadership and staff of knowing the errors and kind of, not the errors, but the missing components in some of the recent projects, as well as new discoveries that are needed to repair and correct items over time. So we didn't do necessarily a facilities assessment and come up with these items. These items were brought to us to form the list. And then as we dug into them and had questions, they got refined and some things got added to them. Not intending you to read this, but essentially this is the summary of the list. There was about 60 items in total on the list. And then we started to discuss what are the solutions. Is it an FF&E, furniture solution? Is a construction solution, and assign a dollar value to that. They were ranges, kind of high and low, because the solution isn't fully fleshed out yet. And then also working with them, we assigned a priority number, started with a 1 through 5, 1 being the lowest priority, not necessarily urgent, and 5 being urgent and necessary. And then through the process, there ended up being some 6s, which essentially were code compliance items. This kind of summarizes where most of those items fell. A lot of the work will focus in on the youth services. This is Fisher's floor plan, main level on the left, and lower level on the right. So some work potentially in the staff area, and as you walk in and are greeted, potentially that desk shifting locations out of the center of the area. And then potentially work in the meeting rooms that fell lower in the priority list. Then you can see, a few other items sprinkled throughout. Some of those areas just photographed here, you guys are likely very familiar. This is the youth service area. So, again, coming in and really making the space dynamic, fixing some of the functional items. There's some, staff areas and a hangover of COVID of how the space needed to adapt and change. It can be put back into place and become more functional again. And then, the success of your programming, which is great, but it's really taking over space within the large meeting rooms and not fitting in some of the youth service program rooms, so they're underutilized. So we'd like to maximize those spaces again. And then just out in those common areas, again, addressing some of the entry points and service points and also staff safety concerns, all within kind of just a couple simple projects in these spaces, and addressing some of the heating and cooling as well through the lobbies. Noblesville has significantly less scope identified. It mostly focuses around that same kind of staff and safety, workflow, circulation, a little bit less out in the open floating desk versus a more standard service point. There's a couple again, really small items elsewhere in the building. Just a reminder right out here, what that space is like. Katie, if you want to dive into maybe the largest scope areas that we did explore a little bit more, what that design solution will be so that we rein in what the budget for.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the youth services program area. So our initial proposal is to increase the size of the staff workroom just a little bit. There's a handful of staff that are located in some of the programming rooms. So trying to get them all to be within the same space, then creating a larger program space that could be divided with an operable wall. So you're able to fit your largest programs in here a lot more comfortably. Also including a more expansive kitchenette. A lot of your staff have some really great hands-on programming. So allowing them to really do all of the tasks that they need to do in this space would be a great benefit. Also adding on a dedicated storage space to connect between the two. So then within the overall youth services area, this is a diagram to show our initial concepts of just really amplifying certain zones within the area to draw the kids through the space and really make it a memorable environment for the kids to come. So it starts with the welcome zone, right as you walk in the front door. Currently that's really dimly lit, not really engaging for the kids. So increasing the lighting levels in there, having some engaging displays for books and materials, potentially some seating to draw the kids right into the space. As they move through the space, we see the tree feature right in the middle. That's definitely a discussion item for, how the space develops, but leaving that intact, for the study. We're calling a family reading zone, expanding that kind of travel path all the way to the windows, which, offer really great light and kind of a really great space. So amplifying that space with some dedicated seating with perhaps a ceiling feature that helps to make that more engaging for the kids. Towards the bottom, we're kind of calling this the older kids zone with some, built-in seating or some interesting feature along the window wall there to draw the kids in. It's currently just kind of empty bookshelves, so making sure that that is a lot more utilized. And then transitioning to the younger kids zone. Your play zone is in the same spot as it currently is, but making that something that's really engaging with manipulative elements that is a lot more interesting for the littlest kids to kind of, engage in that zone, as well as transition into the program rooms just to the north of that. So this is just very early concepts, just showing how we could engage in this space, and the specifics of that are yet to be defined. And then the kind of final main component of this project is signage and wayfinding. So you see on the diagrams on the left, for Fishers, there's certain spaces where we think it'd be really impactful to have some much more interesting signage and branding and make this feel really interesting and help people to understand where we're going in the building. So some just various concepts for interesting signage and wayfinding to help patrons move through the building. This would also include all of your code required signage and, increased signage throughout the building in general. And same concepts for Noblesville, highlighting specific points where we think that we can really engage patrons and help them understand where they are in the building and where they need to go. That is an overview of kind of our study and thoughts so far. The specifics of this will be developed in kind of the next phase of the project, and we'll really get into the design and the meat of the project shortly.
Okay. Questions for Kevin or Katie? Kevin, we use the abbreviation or the initials of FF&E. What?
Yeah, furniture and fixtures really. So a lot of this project or proportional. Usually, your furniture is 5% or something of the budget, where this is gonna be more like probably 30% of it. So that won't run through the contractor scope. That'll be procured with our assistance directly by the library. And, we recently sat on the finance, consultant meeting too, and accelerating some of this by the end of the year. That actually helps, is that you can direct contract and put more of that money on this year's book, so to speak. So we might look at exactly, how to do that as much as possible, really, it sounded like, so.
Specifically in the children's space and the common space, some of the well-worn furniture and
Yeah.
pictures.
I think the point also was just that this isn't much heavy construction. And we know that the goal is to minimize that within both of these buildings, and when we do have to do it, very quickly and at a high level, so we're prepared as to talk about the CM, RFQ and how that's gonna be a big part of who you guys wanna pick is someone that we know can come in and execute quickly.
What next steps do you need from the board?
Matt, we have a proposal now that the scope is known for our work. I don't know if that's a board approval item. And releasing the CM RFP
Yes.
tied together is correct.
So Matt and Meredith helped, wrote an RFP to issue to find a CMC to help with the construction part of this, and, then also just approval to keep moving forward with the, I know when we talked about this before, we wanted to bring what we were thinking to the board, so that you could weigh in on, what we're, the priorities that have been identified, and make sure that it aligns with, what your vision is, and that you're okay with us continuing to move forward with this small project.
Well, having had the privilege of seeing that document that was small up there about the order and priority list, I think you guys did a very nice job of getting your priorities together so we can move forward as we get pricing in. And that to me was very helpful when we were looking at it before.
Well, and thank you to, Matt and Kevin for not getting annoyed every time Molly and I said, oh, wait a second, we have something else that we need to add, which we in fact did at the meeting just yesterday. I mean.
Yeah, I think the original list was 6 items.
Either do one.
Yeah, but no, it's been good, very good. But to Melissa's point, I think next steps, there were kind of 2 proposals that were sent over, one being, KRM's, proposal to continue moving forward into, full design, as well as, we're at the point to bring on a CMC, which I sent over that RFP, that we can get that out on the street. Obviously, we gotta go through the, send it out for, publish that notice and everything, to get that on the street, follow the statutes for that, but like to get that going, so we can get the CMC on board, or contractor on board, roughly, same time they're, well into the design phase, if that'll be, detrimental to get some input from an actual contractor to help, make sure we're staying on budget, with these small projects.
On time and on budget, right?
I don't know that Mike Reuter needs us to be on budget, though, does he? I felt like that was.
We can do more stuff.
Right, more stuff, more stuff. All right, so if I'm hearing you right, we have 2 actions that the board needs to take. One is to authorize the issuance of the construction manager's contractor RFP.
Yep.
And then the other is to, how should that second one be phrased?
Approve them to proceed with design.
Got it. And 2 separate resolutions, just one?
You can do it one.
Okay. Tell you what, I'll just do this from here. So I'll move that we approve the issuance of the proposed RFP that was in our materials, that is a request for proposal for construction manager as constructor, and that we authorize our administration to continue working with KRM Architecture to develop, to continue to develop the the plans that are necessary for the small projects. Design.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion on that motion? We have three folks waiting and begging to be answering questions.
Yeah, just they have that.
Okay. Hearing no others, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nays? No nays? That motion passes. Let's get the RFP out there and get your designs going.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next order of business is a resolution to establish mileage and per diem reimbursement. Melissa, can you talk us through this?
Sure, so, the board votes to approve what the mileage reimbursement is, and we do that annually. And we have been, using the number from, what is that, just in my head, it's the federal rate, and then also the GSA guidelines for, per diem reimbursement. So Kim and I were talking, and so we thought if we could issue or have you approve this resolution, then we would just, those numbers would be updated as the government updates them. And then if at any point in time you want to change it, you know, we can always, the board is always within your purview to change those numbers. But if we pass the resolution, then we can establish those numbers going forward.
Very good. Everyone have a chance to see the resolution? I mean, ultimately, it's just 2 sentences of
Yeah.
be it resolved. Is there a motion to adopt that resolution?
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution to establish mileage and per diem reimbursement.
Second.
Any just have a motion and a second, any discussion on the motion?
It's pretty uncontroversial. I've always used federal mileage for everything I do.
And GSA per diem makes the most sense. All right. Hearing nothing else, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That is adopted. That is resolution, I think that's going to be 2025-3. Very good. Next item on the agenda is expenditures over administrative threshold. So I'll turn that over to you as well.
Okay, so, we are looking to expand our makerspace, over to Noblesville. And so the first one is, the Ignite expansion furniture. So that will be the furniture that will be going into the space that we've identified here at Noblesville for the, new makerspace area. Name of that space to be determined, but that's what that furniture is for.
Where's that going? Downstairs?
Upstairs, they're in, and I'd be happy to show it to you after board meeting. It's a really cool space. It's sort of at the top of the stairs and then around, it has a big glass floor to ceiling windows that look out over the lobby-way. So it'll be smaller than what we have in Fishers, but we get nonstop requests to have a similar space over here in Noblesville. And so it's not going to be, identical to what we offer in Fishers. It'll be, different equipment, but complementary to what we offer in Fishers. But it will allow us to bring that service up here to Noblesville as well.
All right. Hearing no other questions, is there a motion to adopt the administrator's executive recommendation to approve the purchase of tables and chairs from Worthington Direct based on the research and recommendation of Ignite Management?
I'm going to adopt that.
Motion and a
Okay.
second, motion from Michelle, second from Beth. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That AER is adopted. Second AER, awesome.
Okay, so, we completed the, adding the cameras and the access controls where we badge in. And after its completion, when just reviewing and looking at camera footage as needed, there were some holes identified where we don't have coverage. And then there was a couple of doors identified that we need to add, access control to. So these would add, most of it is in Noblesville, there are some in Fisher. So we are requesting authority to spend that money to add those cameras and, access control.
I would entertain a motion to approve the quotes from Security 101 for additional cameras and access panels as set forth in your written AER.
So moved.
Moved by Susan, seconded by Craig. Craig beat you, Ken, I'm sorry. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, that AER also is adopted. Next order of business is highlights, marketing and communications.
Hey, over here, Kelsey, will you come up here? No, I wrote a thing. Yes, okay. So, John Cotton Dana is often referred to as the father of the modern library. He was a visionary in the field, and he transformed the library into a vibrant community gathering space and worked to eliminate barriers between the public and library resources. He also championed the use of strategic communication tools like newsletters and pamphlets, posters and flyers to promote what the library had to offer to connect with the public. So in honor of his legacy, the John Cotton Dana Award is one of the most prestigious national awards for library public relations and marketing. It's sponsored by the H.W. Wilson Foundation, and the award recognizes up to 8 libraries each year for outstanding achievement in library communications. And the winning library wins $10,000 in recognition of their excellence. So I'm thrilled to announce that Hamilton East Public Library has been selected as a 2025 recipient of the John Cotton Dana Award, and for the 2024 Library Card Sign-Up Month campaign, Show Your Library Card and Save. This creative and community-centered campaign encouraged library card signups by partnering with local businesses to offer discounts to cardholders, showcasing the value of your library card outside of our walls. And this campaign was developed and executed by our exceptional Director of Marketing and Communications, Kelsey Sweet, and her team members, Jane Denise and Catherine Surgery. And I'm proud of their work every day, but it's an honor to have them recognized at the national level, and we are incredibly lucky to have them as part of our team. So please join me in congratulating Kelsey, Jane, and Catherine for their outstanding
I mean, she pretty much covered it, but we had so much fun planning that campaign last year, and it was so exciting to see the success of it and just the way that we had a lot of good community support and partnerships. And I think that's really one of my favorite parts of my job, was just connecting with the community, and that was just a lot of fun. And we're bringing it back again this year. We already have 15 partners here for deals. So we'll have some teasers in our next Discover Guide, which comes out next month. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Terrific. Exciting. I don't see Lisa. Do we have a foundation update?
We do, yes, we have a birthday. Lisa
Oh,
out.
long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah, a
Very weird.
representative here on behalf of the foundation to give an update.
Lisa is out this week, but recently we had our first night in the Stacks Foundation fundraiser, which was a huge success, sold out. We learned a lot, and we've already had people asking us, when is the next one? I think that the big hit is it was 21 plus. So a lot of mom and dads got to have fun at the library. So, and thank you to everyone that works at the library who stayed and helped, because I know that was a really long day, and we had a line at 6:30 to get in. So it's really exciting. So we'll do that again for sure.
Any update on the legal logistics?
It's still pending
Okay.
with the IRS. I think people still work at the IRS.
Case of government.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things we're trying to navigate now, is how do we fundraise in this position, right?
Right, I mean, and all you can do is just say that it's 501c3 pending. You can take donations through the Friends and have them hold it until you get your actual status cleared, but you can take donations and say your status is pending.
Terrific. Anything in the works?
We have 3, possibly 4 new foundation board members that'll be joining us by the end of July, which is right on target to where we want it to be. So that's really good news as well. A lot of things in the works, a lot of ideas. But again, we've just kind of figured out how to navigate taking funds without being approved. So, but having the night on the stacks under our belt is really, really great.
Terrific. Any other questions? Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
That brings us to director's report.
Okay, so, I have some exciting news that maybe people have seen elsewhere, but the, Hamilton County Council voted to supply funding for 3 years to bring the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, to Hamilton County. So that will be launching soon. And there's more information that will be coming. And then, all the library directors, have met and, we're working together to, on that, launching and working with marketing departments to get that information out to people. So, I'm also happy to announce that after reviewing, many qualified candidates, we have a new director, a new facilities director, Riley Kennedy will be starting, and hopefully we can have him at our next board meeting. He starts on Monday. And he knows our buildings quite well. He was very involved in adding the cameras and access badges. So Molly is excited to turn over making the badges. And then also I want to just a shout out to Kim, the world's greatest CFO. She found us new insurance. She got us new insurance quotes, and it's saving us a lot of money next year. So she just want to say thank you for that, for going above and beyond to get us that savings. And then Ignite, our Ignite staffers invited, they had several people come in for the National Veterans Creative Arts Festival, and it was a really cool event that they offered to people and inviting people into the space and working with that group, and hopefully we can continue and do similar activities. And then we're also, thanks to Joseph, we now have a way to offer patrons access to state parks for free. If they can come in and check out it is a letter from the national or from the DNR that authorizes people to gives us access to the state park. So patrons can come in and they can check out the backpack, which has all of the information in it, and take it and go to state parks for free. That was a challenge to get that. So we're excited about it. And then we also have a new collection for adult audiobooks. They're called Playaways. Ryan got this started. So they're basically like a little standalone unit that you can come and check out, and they have the book on it, and you don't need to connect to a CD player or radio or anything. It's just an all-in-one unit. And let's see, we had a bit of a crisis with some ceiling tiles falling in after the rain. This is several weeks ago, and this was in Fishers, but it turned out to be a fairly easy fix. So that was surprisingly good news, because we thought it was going to be a mega expensive roof repair. And then we also had some issues with our elevator phones, and so we had to do the elevator phones were not working. So if there had been an emergency, they would not have called out. So we had to, thank goodness, we were able to get that repaired, but staff stepped in and we shut all the elevators down except one, and we had an old fashioned person in there being in charge of the elevator. So yes, a lot of people stepped in to help. So that's something they do all the time, which is just come up with creative solutions to strange problems. So we also got the new shelves installed and new services. So if you want to pop downstairs and see, they're just so much easier to navigate both as a patron and as a person who's having to reshelve the books instead of flipping through. And they're in a much more traditional way. And then just, I will end with, we had a miniature horse at the library, and it was delightful. He came to a couple of events, and it, you know, you're not really expecting to see a horse in the library, so it was a fun event, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'll just make a comment. I saw that you graduated from Miller Ambassadors and Molly from HCLA, so
Yes.
congratulations. And I saw that you are in HCLA for the class of 2026.
Yes, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, so congratulations to both of you.
How many of the park passes do we have?
I think it's 4. Too many buildings.
Those have been popular so far.
We only just put them out last week, so it's still too early to say.
Yeah, so you might have a chance out of it.
Because, yeah, I love that. I think it's awesome, yeah.
On the Facebook page or something to advertise it.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think.
Only
we
we
got
had a
some-
marketing department that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got plans, all right, so,
We
yeah.
had a reel out last week.
All right. Anything else for?
I will say, there was on Facebook, it was a video of somebody kind of, she was just playing some different areas in the library and everything. It was very clever. I really liked it, so.
Oh, it was at it might have, we have a new intern who's working with us. She's part of the HSC high school has a really great marketing department, and she's been fantastic. So her
It was
pictures
really
and her camera,
Yeah.
like the videos she's been making.
Yeah. it's really
Yes.
good.
I've been sending them to multiple schools, insisting they watch it. So, yeah. Yeah, thank you for saying that.
Sure.
She's been great.
Anything else, director's reports? I didn't see any other old or new business before I take everybody's favorite motion. We're obviously here June 26th. Our meeting had been scheduled for the 19th, but we realized we weren't gonna have quorum on the 19th, so we bumped it to this week. July 17th is our next meeting date. I think. Okay.
I will not be.
Bill's not, Kim's not.
July 17th.
17th, so yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. I should be, that at least gets us to 4.
Student number 8, I'll be there.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah, because this could be our last Craig meeting or not. We'll see.
Hopefully.
And I might just have 2, so we'll see. All right. So looks like we should have quorum. We should be able to stick with July 17th. Obviously, things happen. Just communicate your absence issues to Melissa, and we can figure out if we need to move the date if that's necessary. But it's so much better to have the meeting in the 3rd week rather than the 4th week, and realize that we're up against the wall and our CFO comes to. Yeah, we don't need her mad at us. All right, with that.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, good night, folks.